Although the supply of T-62 tanks to the Russian army began at the end of 2022, and the first T-55s appeared at the front in the summer of 223, these tanks were usually intended for auxiliary units on the second and third lines of defense, and were used to a limited extent as mobile artillery. However, towards the end of the battle for Avdiivka, according to military reports, the enemy began to use the T-62 in battles, often on not modernized, but bare tanks without grills and dynamic protection. After Avdiivka, the Russian troops stepped up their attempts to attack Robotin, where they actively used outdated T-55 and T-54 with no signs of modernization, except for the anti-drone grill, which did not help to escape from Ukrainian drones. It is obvious that the increase in the number of obsolete T-62, T-55/54 on the front line is connected with the high losses of tanks by the so-called Russia, the insufficient pace of their production at factories, and the gradual depletion of warehouse stocks. There are also similar problems with infantry fighting vehicles, which is evidenced by the increased use of old light-armored tracked vehicles in the role of infantry fighting vehicles. Returning to the tanks, it should be noted that although the Soviet Union produced thousands of these tanks, there are not so many of them left in storage, and it is an open question how much of them are used as spare parts donors, and how much is subject to restoration or use. As of August, analysts of the military soothsayer resource counted 219 T-55s in storage. About 100 were removed from the bases, and now we see them at the front. As for T-62 stocks, the situation of the Russians is a little better. As of August, about 600 of them were removed from storage, and about 800 are still in storage. They undergo modernization, where additional protection and new devices are installed on them. However, production capacity is limited to approximately 20 per month. Probably, it is because of this that T-62s, which were sent into battle and destroyed, appeared at the front, not modernized, but quickly restored at the bases. By mid-February, according to Oryx, the destruction of more than 100 T-62 units of various modifications was confirmed. Recently, OSINT researcher Hi_Most conducted a stockpile study of modern Soviet T-80U and T-80UD tanks, which were in service with the 4th Tank Division. It was found that the possibilities of restoring the T-80U have been exhausted. There are several dozen of these tanks left in warehouses, which are probably not suitable for restoration. The 4th Panzer Division suffered significant T-80U losses at the beginning of the invasion, and at the moment these machines appear extremely rarely in reports. Presumably, the 1st Tank Army, which is conducting combat operations on the front from Kupiansk to Svetovo, suffers from a significant lack of equipment, which partly explains the inability of the Russians to achieve success in this area. Although the number of tanks according to the deployed units can reach more than 500 units. As for diesel T-80UDs, there are 170 of them in stock, but they are only suitable for use as spare parts donors, since the 6 TD engines were manufactured in Kharkiv. And the so-called Russian Federation does not have a reserve to restore this T-80 modification. Therefore, units of the 1st Tank Army are gradually switching to the T-80BV. But the Russians also have problems with them, since the Marine units traditionally equipped with T-80BV and T-80BVM will receive the above-mentioned T-55 from the beginning of 2024. Tank reserves of T-80BV and various versions of T-72 are measured in the hundreds, but the scale and pace of losses already indicate that the bottom can be seen in Russia's endless tank reserves.